Good morning, Emily. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Well, first off, I want to say thanks so much for joining us to talk about your alopecia areata experience. And as you know, this month of September is National Alopecia Awareness Month. And we just thought it would be so important to have you tell us and tell our viewers a little bit more about how alopecia areata has really affected your life and when it started, kind of the course of what you've done throughout your life, and then where you are today. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, sounds good. So when I was about 3 is whenever we started noticing significant hair loss. So, naturally, parents with a 3-year-old child losing all of their hair are going to freak out, and they took me to the doctor. Whenever they took me, there wasn't really a lot of awareness for it whenever I went to the doctor that I went to, which I can't remember where it was because I was so little. But they actually considered like doing all these off the wall treatments, like they considered putting like acid on my head and everything. And my parents at that point were like, "Well, hey, it's just hair, so as long as it's not fatal, we don't really want to, put our kid through that."
Sure.
So yeah, so we kind of just came back home and just kind of, let it be until I was about 6. And that's when I started grade school. And, you don't really care about what you look like as a kid. But then whenever you get to school, you start like noticing all the people looking at you and whatnot. And so I think for about a year when I was in kindergarten, we tried to get, some pieces to hide it. That only lasted for about a year. And then most of my hair came back actually, other than, a few nickel dime sizes, everything
Right.
everywhere.
So let me stop you there. That's what I was going to ask. So during the course of when you were 3 to say 6 or 7 years old, were your spots of loss, were they always in the same area? Did they move around?
When I was about 3, I lost it all at once. It started out maybe with like a dime size spot, but then by the time my parents noticed it within like a very short period of time, it just all came out. But then whenever it came back, it all came back at once, other than, maybe like 1 or 2 spots. It kind of remained that way until I got to like the 5th grade. I didn't really have many issues. I might would have a slightly bigger spot up here and there, but like nothing big enough that I couldn't hide it with the rest of my hair. Then whenever I got into middle school is whenever I started losing it a lot.
And
You
how
know,
old were you when you went into middle school?
let's see, I would have been
13, 12, 13?
12, 11 or 12 probably, in 6th grade.
Do
And
can you connect the dots at all from a hormonal perspective or, at that time, did you notice that your loss then was around maybe when you started your menstrual cycle or?
I think so. It probably started a little bit a year before. Um, but then, like, what was it? Probably into 7th grade, going through puberty and everything, it just kind of accelerated it. That's when I started coming to HPI. And I don't know if you remember back then, but we were doing like little glue-on pieces and
Oh, yes, I remember very well.
very much like a puzzle.
Yes,
Um,
it was.
and to a middle schooler, that's really important if you don't have that confidence. And with me playing as many sports as I played, I really needed that extra confidence booster because
Yes.
I always had in the back of my head, I used to cover it up, and I'd spend like 2 hours in the morning probably in the mirror, like taking each little strand of hair and making sure it had its own little place. But then with as active as I am with basketball and soccer, I'd get out there and one little foul or anything could just mess it up. So I really probably needed that extra confidence by coming to you guys. And then when I got into high school, I kind of continued with that. We moved from some smaller puzzle pieces
Mhm.
to we had kind of a big one that wrapped around the back of my head. And I had that, which that was a lot easier, I would say, than the little ones because, it didn't slide around as much. It was just one solid piece. And I had that probably for a year or two. And then my junior year of high school, I started getting into like a lot of public speaking, started doing a lot of agriculture competitions through FFA. So I was on stage a lot. So the pieces were a little harder to do because whenever you have that stage light shining down on you, you can oftentimes see like the gleam of like the edge of the glue and whatnot. So we moved to like a fuller piece, and had that probably for about a year. And then senior year is about the time I decided to just go to a full wig. And I had that for probably about 2 or 3 years.
Because let me ask you a question. So through this transition, this is so helpful what you're sharing. But confidence wise, you went from someone who, and starting school, that probably would have loved to have put a bag over your head, right? And cut little eye holes out so no one would really know who you were, to having the confidence to stand on stage and give presentations with FFA, with high school. Where was your thought process with your hair during all of this time? Because that's pretty amazing that you could kind of get through that piece of it. Did you feel better about how you were looking because the hair had gotten to where certainly we were covering more of it? So with the full prosthetics we were using, the hair was beautiful, right? And when you looked in the mirror, it's like, oh, wow, this is the best hair I've ever had. So did that have something to do with it? Or was it more that you were finally coming into your own and you were finally realizing, hey, I am smart and I'm beautiful just the way I am? I mean, you tell me. I don't want to lead you in that direction.
Probably a little bit of both. I've always loved school, always loved learning. And I really found my place with FFA when I was in high school, just because there were so many different ways I could challenge myself, like infinite amount of things to learn. So I really just dove into it. And that's also where I found a good solid foundation in my friends and people that supported me. So I think it kind of just got to a point where I was like, oh, well, I'm still gonna, try to hide it because it's just more convenient being in front of all these people all the time. It's a lot easier to give a speech in front of people when they're not interrupting you and going, hey, do you have cancer? Are you okay? Are you able to stand up there?
Right.
So,
right. And looking at you more with sympathy than actually looking at you and being, impressed by what you were talking about from the farmer side or the holistic side or the horticulture side, right?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely helped a lot. And I will have to say, going from the different pieces to the full piece, I think helped me a lot as well, because with the smaller pieces, it was more meticulous, making sure they were in the right place. And the fuller piece, just it was quicker. I didn't have to worry about it being as broken up whenever I was standing in front of people. I didn't have to worry about all the different variables moving around.
Yes.
So I will have to say that was probably better. And once I moved to that, I definitely gained a lot more confidence. I'll have to say, when I started thinking about just going without one, probably was end of my freshman year of college is when I first started considering it. So I've always loved the outdoors a lot. And that kind of got amplified when I got into college, especially being in the biology department a lot. And we go on a lot of different trips. Well, into my freshman year, we went to Brazil, and I was in the rainforest for 2 weeks. And I wore my hair the whole time, but it's so hot there and humid, it added probably a good 10 or 15 degrees. And
it became your own personal sauna under your head, right?
It did. And the hotter you get, the more it slips around and the more uncomfortable it gets, and you feel like you just got to make it tighter and tighter so it's not slipping around. And I just kept thinking in my head, I was like, I know I don't know these people, but like, I really just want to go without it so I can just not deal with being hot. And then I got back to school, a couple months later, I kind of it was comfortable. It was what I was used to. So it was
That's
like,
right.
do I feel like going without it right now. I'm on a good streak right here. I'm enjoying life. Do I want to put a little bump in the road in case I don't like it? I stuck with it for a little while. And then whenever COVID hit, I was sitting at home. I didn't really put it on unless I had class with a Zoom meeting where we had to show our camera.
Right.
And I just was sitting there. I was like, man, this is nice. Like, I'm not having to worry with it. It feels great. Then probably earlier this summer, which I'm now going into my senior year of college.
Right. I was going to say, catch us up. How old are you now?
COVID, 2 years. It's the big time warp. Everybody just kind of, but I'm going into my senior year of college. And this summer I just got to thinking, I was like, I've had a really good past couple years. I really like my friends in college. I've definitely grown in confidence. I've lost a lot of those insecurities, and really the only insecurity I had left was my hair. It just got to the point where it was like, hey, I feel solid in everything else in my life. I think if there's a time to do it, now's probably the time to do it. And I will have to say, like, the first 2 or 3 weeks after I ended up shaving it all off and going without it, it was a little difficult just adjusting to like the looks and the questions that you get. You get a lot of, have you been sick? Are you okay? Right. Or you get a lot of, was that by choice? Or I'll have to say, after you get past the questions and the looks, I know for me, at least, with being as involved as I am with stuff outside, the feeling that you get from not having to spend that time every day to, put into your hair and take care of your wig, because it's, they're expensive. You need to take care of them. Having that burden like taken off of you to where it's like, hey, I can just wake up, get a shower, go run, go do whatever. I mean, that to me has felt a lot better than having to worry with it. It's like, I'll take anything you say to me as long as I can wake up and go do what I want.
Right. And feel free and feel that, you don't have to waste time in the bathroom or, with a lot of other things that you would do to make yourself look the same as every other female. Right. That's the other thing is, I think, you went through school with alopecia and with the time when it's so important as a female, right, to look and kind of fit in with everyone. And, I've been so blessed to be involved with your entire family. And certainly the support system that you have with your mother and your father and your grandmother is just, it's certainly helped you with everything and every being that you are. But as you pointed out in the beginning, parents want their children to be and feel normal. And I don't think it has anything to do with their selfish sense. I think it has to do with making sure that their child does not feel different than someone else at school. Because I think we've all been brought up in a reality, right, of society, of what is right and what is wrong. And wrong sometimes just has a label of difference. And that's the sad part. I don't know, maybe the pandemic changed a little bit of that, because some of us, as you shared, you felt that, hey, I had an opportunity to be free and not have to wear my prosthetic, my wig any longer. And I'm confident enough now in who I am to be able to do that. And that's, that takes a lot. I mean, and I've been with you on this journey. And when you came into us and said, and your mom was sitting there looking at me and I'm looking at you, and you said, I think I'm ready to shave it. And your mom's sitting there shaking her head, and her head down. And, but it was so courageous. And because I've been on this journey with you, I knew you were ready, and you knew that you had your beautiful hair. If you wanted to put it back on, that you could go back to that. But I mean, you became who you are, and you're a better person from the core, because now you are Emily, and it doesn't have to do with what your hair looks like, and your identity no longer is around this beautiful head of hair. It's around you as a beautiful person. And that's what's so telltale in your kind of saga of how this transition has brought you around.
Yeah, and I think that's really evident in the fact that I did started coming to you guys in middle school. Because if you think about it, middle school, high school is kind of where you're trying to find your place, but you're not really sure. And
Yes.
then whenever I got into college, it was pretty solid and where I wanted to be. So I think it was necessary for me to have that added confidence. And I know my mom at first, she was a little hesitant to me making the decision, because as a worried parent is, she was like, I hope this is the right time. I don't know if it is. I don't want you to go into your last year of college being depressed and miserable. And but about 2 days after, I overheard her talking to my dad, and she was like, I think it was the right time. I think it was time. And my dad said, he was like, I could have done that at home. Uh, we could have done it here. We could have just shaved it off. But my mom said, no, it was necessary for them to do it, because it kind of completed that cycle of, hey, they've been with me through this. I would feel most comfortable if they would do it. And my comfort and where my confidence has been because of you guys. And
Oh,
it was only symbolic to have it done there.
that's so sweet. That's very kind of you to say that. Well, it is, as you said, when you came in the very first time, and, we talked to your mother about, the hair enhancements and the replacements in, our puzzle piece, if you will. And that's what I said to her, is I said, this is going to change every single month when we see you. And as long as you're okay with that and prepared with it, we're ready for it. And so we take it one day at a time. And that's what you've done through this entire journey. And it's been such a blessing to be involved with you and your family through all of this. We couldn't be more grateful and happy. And we love it that you've kind of come out in such a strong way. And I know I wanted to have you share your Instagram title, because you have so many great pictures and some wonderful stories on there, that for those who are in a similar situation, or parents who have young children who are joining us, it'll be helpful for them to kind of see your story. So what is your Instagram, please?
It is ehudgens15.
Excellent,
And
Emily.
if anybody follows me, especially if there's like a child or anything that is going through something similar to what I've experienced, I don't mind talking to them. And again, like going to you guys definitely helped my confidence throughout school. And I will have to say, is if that's something that you need to do the things that you love, don't feel ashamed of that. But also, if you think you can handle it, also don't be afraid to take that jump and just say, hey, this is what I deal with. I'm gonna do what I love.
That's right. Thank you. And again, thank you so much for taking time away from school. I know you have a class to get to, so we're going to let you go. And you better stay in touch with us and continue to keep coming in, at least so we can follow your hair analysis now that you've started with a diet change and using laser and some other treatments. So we're excited to see where that takes us next.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Emily. Have a great day.
Thank you guys.
You're
See ya.
all. Bye-bye.
Bye.